Good after fucking noon, everyone. I'm Volette1. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not a furry, but I really love this one game with dinosaurs called Orion Prelude. When Scrooge McDuck invented capitalism in 1708, he probably didn't foresee that the 21st century would see the rise of freemium games, because they don't make sense on paper. There's only free cheese in a mousetrap. Naturally, it was nice to find a good free-to-play or cheap game in a huge list of expensive games, back when you had to pay for most of your video games. Orion Prelude ensured that if you got ripped off, it was only $1. This was the first game I ever purchased for its cost of $1, and considering how expansive this game is, that's a deal. In it, you fight the prehistoric dinosaurs and T-Rexes to show what expensive guns, jetpacks, and helicopters can do. You, alongside 4 other players, play a wave defense horde shooter. Now, okay, this game is kind of old shit, and for the dollar price that it bears, it really plays like a dollar store game. It's filled with bugs, asset flips, design issues, and so many other stupid things. But it's interesting because despite the fact that it's a failed series, the time it has existed and tried to be improved upon has been rather long. 25 years of the Orion series, with their biggest hit to date being Orion Prelude. So why do I care to make a video about an insignificant product? 2 reasons. Number 1, I believe its history is worth taking a look at. Why do you think the developers didn't give up despite the dead player base? I always thought this concept of overpowered weapons and vehicles versus stupid dinosaurs in large quantities was fun. From gameplay to the game's countless iterations and the whole development process, I watched on the sidelines how the developers painted themselves as underdogs for 20 years while facing plagiarism and money embezzlement allegations, which we'll get into, so get ready. But frankly, there's at least some to appreciate here for the years of effort they've invested into trying to make this game series work. And number 2, because I can. There's a million reviewers of the newest Apple products, but only a few hippies reviewing old BlackBerry flip phones. If not for value from the hottest new things, there's some entertainment in looking back at failed products and services to see what went wrong, and how this game is essentially a cheese trap that I grew to enjoy somewhat. It's an unpolished mess that tried to bite off more than it could chew. Who else would write a video essay about a game with a player count hanging around 6 or 7 players nowadays if not me? Full of nostalgia. You're welcome. Out of the main trilogy of the Orion games, I dedicated a few hundred hours to Orion Prelude, aka Orion Dino Beatdown, aka Orion Dino Horde. Don't worry about the names too much, they're all the same thing, but along the way they tried rebranding to wash their legacy. Undoubtedly, Orion Prelude is the best game to date. If you're just like me, despite the stench and knockoff quality, you love browsing the dollar store. There's something satisfying about looking at the display of value traps on the shelves and Goislop snacks. So, when I was young, I first got into it with a free weekend deal. Unlimited play for a Saturday and Sunday when the game was on Steam. I had a taste of what promised to be a very expansive game, full of things to discover and do. I mean, it literally says open world here on the Steam store, so like what the fuck? Jolly playing, the weekend trial time ran out, and the play button in my library soon got substituted with a purchase option. So, I cracked it. But it really didn't feel the same because 1, I downloaded an outdated version of the game, and then it really didn't feel the same way, you know? Orion is not a sandbox game, so to say, but it's kind of large and really sucked exploring it all on my own when I knew that it could be better with a friend or even randoms. Someone to help me mow down the huge dinosaurs, play the PvP modes, and so on. Don't think that I'm cheap. The reason I couldn't muster up $1 was because my mom was gatekeeping the Steam wallet really hard. And when she finally caved in, I fell in love. Because this game's biggest strength is that it's satisfying. Pump the feel-good chemicals to my brain long enough that I call that progression, the popping heads of dinosaurs, taking down a huge T-Rex, that goes yay in my brain. So, I'll talk about Orion Prelude later because the sauce was not invented until 2012. It took them almost a decade of brainstorming and modding to come to the formula. The story of Orion starts all the way back in 1998. Meet David Prassel, aka Praz, the main developer and lead of the Orion series for 25 years. This guy had a vision for a grandiose game where humans would fight dinosaurs in another world. David is a man of documentation. His ambitions were backed up with years of blog posts, forum comments, and videos, and of course, games to show. I'm sourcing the majority of the early history from these, but to this day, he remains available if you want to know more, and I feel honored to have this dude added on Steam. Unfortunately, he declined my request for an interview, so I'm not gonna hold back. In 1998, he got to play Quake's Capture the Flag mode and really loved the game's movement. He was also a fan of games like Star Siege, Tribes, and Halo. Large maps, jetpacks, flying vehicles, large-scale team battles really clicked with his view of what makes gaming fun. Later, when Orion would release, he would quote these three games as the pillars of his inspiration. He even quotes Halo as the most pivotal game in his life. And honestly, I can't blame this American patriot. You can't tell me this isn't a warthog. At only 11 years old, David personally emailed Bungie, the developers of Halo, for permissions to use the likeness of the warthog and Spartan armor among other small things, which I find sweet, as he grew to land a position to work on Halo Infinite 20 years later in 2021, which I discovered by shamelessly stalking his LinkedIn. Before Orion, David's first works came in the 2000s when he started working on a game called Incoming. It never got published, but he received a green light to upload it to the then popular forum Planet Half-Life, which he got an endorsement from by none other than Jesse Cliff, the same dude who originally made Counter-Strike. Incoming, the game, was a mod similar to Counter-Strike, but with David's bullshit inside. This early version of the game got a rework in 2005 when the new Source engine came out, and finally that was the moment he announced it to the public, which he says was received with backlash from the community, from its overt similarity to Halo, lacking its own flavor. So he backed off, leaving the whole modding community behind for a year to focus on other things. Personally, I want to note it's kind of an experience browsing these old forums. I never grew up with this era of gaming, but seeing these emoticons and forums and everyone having their personalized profile is cool. There's hours of podcasts documenting the development of this early source, and I think some of the posts and comments were a great way to bring visibility, but what I see is that when you're dealing with the 2005 internet, it can be an uphill battle. Perhaps it's the kind of neckbeard behavior you'd expect from the modding community, but if someone didn't like your work, they would find a really smart-ass, snarky way to point it out to you. I'll give you an example. One guy commented on a teaser of the game Praz was working on, quote, "I'm also guessing it will span over possibly 3 episodes and will apparently outbeat Halo and COD." All this to say, I think the prehistoric dinosaur redditors got to him. However, he'd be back 2 years later with the requested flavor in his new game. In a blog post on mod.db, another modding website, he claimed his laptop with all the work was stolen from his car, but despite that, he started to work on Orion in 2008. And in it, he would share the context of the game. Basically, the setting is in an alternative universe where the big meteorite that collided with planet Earth some 66 million years ago, leading to the extinction of dinosaurs, was instead split in half. One hit Earth as we know it, and the other hit the planet Orion, which didn't lead to the extinction. Years later, Orion, a planet largely similar to planet Earth in climate, has lived with totally different consequences. Dinos are still roaming free, but humans, as is prophesized by many sci-fi writers, ended up in a doomsday situation, driving ourselves away from our own freaking planet. So that's why we're on Orion, killing all these fucking dinosaurs. We don't have any more space on planet Earth. Now, mind you, when Praz was developing Orion in 2008, he still hadn't implemented any dinosaurs yet. But he would stick to the plan of a futuristic game. Sci-fi weapons, custom classes, new environments, and more. Rebranding the whole project from Incoming to Orion, losing most of the fans along the way because of his extended break and backlash, a clean start made for an opportunity to grow his team with new artists, designers, and developers to help. Almost every single blog post I've skimmed had a mention of contact information and many explicitly hiring and help needed requests, which is cool because not only are you promoting your game within the modding community, but also benefiting from the large talent pool. A first launch of the mod came out in December end of 2009. The game got a couple 10,000 downloads in a month, but suffered from some critical bugs from the source engine. In it, there was 3 main classes to pick from in a capture the flag PvP setting like Quake mod. The assault had a jetpack, an assault rifle, and a submachine gun. The support had heavy weapons and a medic ability, and the sniper had a cloak and a silenced weapon. Originally, Praz mentioned that 2 more classes were supposed to be added, those being the tech guy with a deployable turret, an EMP, grenades, and a demo guy with a flamethrower. In the end though, the 3 aforementioned classes on launch would be the ones to evolve to the next game's iteration, and the unreleased ones had their features compacted into the other classes or reshaped to be added to the game in other ways. I, myself, tried this game 2 years ago in single player, because honestly I meant to write this video a long time ago, but now that I'm on Windows 11 it doesn't seem to work anymore. From what I saw, it was whatever though. And for the haters at that time, according to the forums, a controversy came up. Like I mentioned, the dinosaurs for Orion were still in development. The game was basically just capture the flag. What people noticed is that there were a few assets from another game called the Dino D-Day. It's worth mentioning, for it's funny that it's happened twice already if you count the Halo stuff back then. And the reason he left his original work incoming behind was to distance himself from the backlash of the community and copyright. Technically, these were all unused, because like I said, dinos were not even available yet. So really, if you ask me, I see this as a nothing burger. However, it sets a precedent for what kind of standards David will follow with other developments later down the line. As time went on, while parallelly developing more maps and refining beta iterations for Orion's source, he got to work learning Unreal Engine 3, the hottest new game engine. Which is important because if he got to make a game with it, he could finally break out of the source engine modding space, which seems to hate him so much, and if successful, reach Steam. As he describes it, his decision slowed the development on Orion's source. Quote, "Business took a lot of time. Everything from raising funds to incorporating made the original game start to pick up dust. So he wrapped it up and made it open source by 2012. Around that time, the company Spiral Game Studios would form. Then, a Kickstarter for $10,000, Orion Prelude. Within a few months, some 371 backers and $17,000 raised. This was the beginning of their greatest project. So, here's Orion Prelude on the Steam store. For $1, you can get 8 game modes, PvP, PvE, tons of cosmetics, achievements, plenty of maps and difficulties to clear, 20 weapons, 10 vehicles to mess around with, and so much more. Now, like I mentioned with Scrooge McDuck, nowadays free-to-play games are pretty standard, where they lure you in with a free product so good that you feel the need to spend your money out of charity to buy a skin or an upgrade. But this wasn't the case years ago. Back then, developers preferred to charge money as upfront costs for their product. You know, it just makes sense. You want something, I need compensation for that. But for the low price of $1, it's almost like it's free. No need for insurance, which is definitely a strong selling point for all the content promised. The early developments and release of Orion Prelude was so fucking bad though. They had to rename their game twice because IGN literally gave them a 2 out of 10 rating. The footage speaks for itself, so I think it's more fair and interesting to look at the finished Orion Prelude. My story with it began in 2013, when my mom's strict on no spending money on video games made me make do with whatever free-to-play games were popular back then. I would pirate everything I could, but I was really bummed out about the fact that I couldn't play with other people, because the cracked versions would not connect to official servers. And it sucked, man. Just imagining how much of the experience and replayability of each player's competitiveness or cooperative work was missing. The bots would act in the same way all the time despite the difficulty, and at some point become predictable. But I just couldn't convince my mom. She said no, it's a waste of money, and why the hell would I blow money on Steam? It's literally gas. I got so desperate to find a solution to online gaming one day that I begged my friends to buy me Call of Duty World at War so I could play multiplayer zombies. And the fucking developers at Activisions were always greedy, so no matter what time of the year it was, sale or no sale, you had to splurge $20 for a game made in '08. I begged, like a little kid. So one of my friends offered to buy it for me if I lend him my $2 CSGO skin. Happy-go-lucky me, I handed over my USPS skin like a fucking idiot because I thought we were chill like that, but he ended up taking the skin and I got ignored on Skype later. That was pretty fucked up. So the lesson here was 1, fuck you, fuck me, and 2, I just had to go back to begging my mom who wouldn't scam me. Orion was the one game to challenge my mom's belief in video games. Look, this is not a shitty microtransaction, not a key to unlock a loot box that can give me a chance at something. It's not a fugazi, this is real gameplay. Having already been scammed once, I sold her on the endless opportunities this game offers and how grandiose and popular it is. And that it's really just $1. So she finally caved. Quite the launch into the world of digital transactions. And just at the checkout, I even managed to upsell her on the 4-pack, so she bought some extra copies for my friends. So here I am now. Had none of that happened, I probably wouldn't have fully explored the game beyond its 2 days free weekend and make this video now. In Orion Prelude, the main game mode and where people spend 99% of their time in is survival. We'll get into the other game modes later, as importantly one of them was the original version of the game, but failed as survival overtook the others for its simplicity. In-game, 10 waves of dinosaurs escalating from basic raptors on round 1 to T-Rexes launching boulders at you, alligators trying to bite your dick off, and fucking pterodactyls dive bombing you. You win if you survive all the waves, and you lose if everyone dies or if your generator gets eaten by the dinos. After all these years, thankfully, the multiplayer is accessible through peer-to-peer connecting, which is nice because you can find a lobby here and there or just play with my friends. So here's how a typical match of survival plays out. Pick your class. The assault can fly. Hold control and watch your resource meter at the bottom left corner of your screen. With all classes, this energy meter is shared between all your utilities, so it's important to monitor. Out of all the classes, the jetpack is the most universally useful. Flight allows you to physically get out of the melee range of a dinosaur and post yourself on a vantage point. You get to play God a little bit. The maps were not designed in a way that would make you always vulnerable. Simply put, if you're on top of a rock, the dinosaur can't reach you. And while you might consider this design element an oversight or flaw because of how strong it is, I think it's cool to have this freedom. And really, you can be a little more liberal with balancing a PvE game. If you want to play safe and camp atop a mountain, you certainly can. If you want to play aggressively, he's also a great choice, because you can kite dinosaurs with your jetpack. Imagine there's a horde in front of you. Your eyes are on them, you're shooting, but to keep your distance you simultaneously walk backwards. While if you're walking, the issue is you might run into geometry or another dinosaur, and then you can get swarmed really easily. Even the third person mode won't really help you if they rush you from a blind spot. But if you're flying, the odds that you collide with something are practically zero. So it's great because the dinos still see you as a target and you can still output maximum damage. Speaking of, the assault also possesses the best weapons in the game. At level 1 you're stuck with a pathetic 2-burst pistol which is enough to limp you through the first round, but it's the absolute worst insurance for the second chance mechanic. When you're bleeding out, those few seconds are everything. If you get a kill, you can get back up. Otherwise, you die if a teammate doesn't save you in time. But the assault has access in the shop to the best adrenaline weapons, the grenade launcher and the rocket launcher. Splash damage for hordes, huge easy to hit direct hits that also deal headshot damage for a higher multiplier. These are both fantastic and synergize very well with the jetpack playstyle to avoid any explosive self-damage. Genuinely, the most satisfying and useful weapons in the entire game. Literally ask anyone who has more than 30 minutes of playtime, and they'll tell you just how good the rocket launcher is. The second class you can pick is the support. This guy rocks a higher health pool, and his specialty is a healing gun. That's it really. It's a decent class at low ranks because of the way the health system works, but drops off at higher ranks who have more upgrades. Quick explanation. Every class health is split into 2 parts, shields and health points. All attacks from dinosaurs will first target your shields, of which the support has 200, capable of sustaining a few hits even on the highest difficulty in the game. On lower difficulties, it's more than enough. After a few seconds of not taking damage, they will regenerate. Now, inevitably, you will lose your shields and dip into your health points at some moment. Maybe you get swarmed by a horde, fall, or get a rock launched at you by a T-Rex. That damage is very hard to restore. If you take even 1 health point of damage, your shields will not regenerate until your max HP. Why? A mistake can sometimes result in the damage you took becoming permanent until you go down or if you don't have a source of healing. On its own, the support kinda sucks. The extra HP and shields are nice, but he lacks the mobility of the assault, and his adrenaline weapons that cost 20,000 credits suck. Seriously, these are a ripoff. The flamethrower and the Gatling gun, whose pitiful damage is barely enough to match regular rifles, also makes the wielder move slower while firing them. The healing gun and extra armor in his kit are the only upsides. You can heal, restore shields to, or even revive any of one of your teammates in proximity. I mentioned he's great at low ranks because there's really only 5 sources of restoring health points. Number 1, you respawn or get revived. Number 2, you buy a perk that costs 7,500 credits to get health regen. Number 3, you capture one of these outposts every 3 waves. Number 4, you buy the freaky perk that allows you to eat dead raptors for HP while standing completely still. Or number 5, you just play support. Realistically, your choices are between number 2 or number 5. At least it's nice to have a support player for boots on the ground action. For his lack of mobility, he will always grab the attention of the dinosaurs and be self-sustainable thanks to his medic gun if played well enough. And lastly, there's the Recon class. The Recon's ability is invisibility for a few seconds when you press control. All dinosaurs will lose targeting, except the T-Rex for some reason, which has good hearing apparently. The Recon only has 100 shields by default, which is definitely not enough. Once again, lacking movement options, she faces the same issues as the support in that she can get overwhelmed, especially since her invisibility resource meter is really small. In terms of weapons, she doesn't redeem herself either. Weak starting pistol, and again kinda shit adrenaline weapons. The laser rifle is supposed to be a slow charging blast, but deals less damage than a single rocket. And the energy carbine is like a futuristic BMR, but it's only okay if you have an auto clicker. Otherwise, if you want to avoid carpal tunnel syndrome and have more consistent damage per second, stick with the assault's explosives. Her redeeming quality is the few cases where the invisibility is worth it. By losing all targeting from the enemies, you can repair your generator in peace, which is great, because on the highest difficulty you only have a minute to repair it before it's game over, but a smoke grenade has the same purpose though, so the true benefit of Recon is a melee playstyle. And in this game, melee is one of the most important gameplay elements for maximum damage every class possesses. So after you pick your class, interact with the generator to start the game. You get 60 seconds of preparation, and then comes the first wave. Wave 1. First, just a few brain dead raptors. This is a 2012 game, so their AI is just to run directly at you if you're in proximity. Shoot the head for maximum damage and look out for their spawn points. Wave 2. You realize you can camp atop a rock. Since they can't reach you, they go after the generator. Now, you also find a few compies, which are tiny cute dinosaurs. It still bites though, and it's hard to see them when they naturally blend into the foliage sometimes. Wave 3. Camping atop a rock is nice, but you hear a screech from the sky and notice some hostile birds, the ram and the pterodactyl. You have to be careful though. If these guys down you in a hard to reach space, your odds of getting back up are slim. And the pterodactyl, large as it is, not only goes in for the swoop, but also attempts to grab you with him in the air, taking you for a ride until he drops you from sky high. Over the years I've played Orion Prelude, this has to be one of the biggest noob traps I've seen, helplessly flying in the air and falling to the floor. But they don't know the trick is to press V on your keyboard to melee, which will free you. You also noticed that the ground also brought danger with the Hawk 2 dino which spits. Outpost. Congrats on clearing the first 3 waves. Time for a new objective. One of 3 predetermined outposts will be designated on the map for you to capture. What I like about this part is that there's no time limit, except for the fact that the longer you take, the more dinosaurs you will have to deal with, as long as the designated large dinosaur is alive. They're like a boss, and when there's multiple of them and they keep spawning more hordes, the game turns into a mess as you try to throw your body at the root of the problem. There's 5 variations of these that are gradually introduced as the waves progress. You'll always know these are alive from their health bars displayed on the left side of your screen. Your reward is 2 vehicles, Warthogs from Halo, 1 driver's seat, 1 turret seat, and a cuck chair. Congrats on your first car. Take care of it and you can drive around wherever you need and save time between waves and outposts. Wave 5. Good time to invest into some augments and perk into utilities. Health regen and extra damage? Good. Kill dinos. Kill bigger dinos and bigger horde. Wave 6. Kill. Time to secure the outpost. Same thing as last time, but once you clear the spot, you'll be rewarded with a mech and a tank. They look cool and sound cool, but are fucking slow and don't hurt at all. For Wave 7, more dinos and multiple big ones. And Wave 8, by now hopefully you saved up 20,000 credits to buy a rocket launcher, because the T-Rex is gonna come knocking on your door. Watch out. Wave 9. Run to the outpost, kill everyone, and grab a helicopter. And finally, by the end of the game with all your upgrades and weaponry, the game will finally put you to the test. The T-Rex will launch boulders at you, the crocodile will try to eat you alive, and the Spinosaur will be the tankiest dinosaur in the game. But this is it. If you clear Wave 10 of survival, you win. If not, it's back to the start. Overall, survival is a fun experience with how it slowly builds up the challenge of the swarm, and it's very straightforward too, I find. With the game lasting from 30 minutes to an hour, you just kill dinos and shop between rounds, so you can kill bigger dinos. It can be a little discouraging to lose by the end when you feel like you've invested so much time into a game, and you know you would have done things similarly in another match. The same weapons, perks, but maybe you didn't pay attention and got a boulder launched at you, knocking you down. But I never really had that issue of being frustrated with Orion. I would play on lower difficulties to not stress when I started out, and I just had fun exploring everything I could. All these things I talked about I learned through game time and trial and error. I just focused on the joy of discovery rather than challenge. And you can definitely see that Spiral Games Studios had this in mind. Variety of different weapons, different maps in different locations, the swamp, the desert, the tundra, etc. It's a fine variety. And some survival maps even have bosses like the Halloween and Christmas ones. And while you'll spend the majority of your time protecting the generator in one game, when you're given the objective to capture an outpost, that little time between is nice to just walk around and explore this old game's scenery and visuals. There's a game mode called Conquest in this game that works just like survival, but it meshes 3 rounds of 10 waves in one session, where you'll have a much larger map, more outposts, and more generators. It's essentially the same thing, but after you're done with Wave 10, you move to a different base and start over, and it's kinda cool. The map is huge, you have 30 waves and a lot of time to explore, and so many credits to accumulate, you can buy every vehicle and upgrade. I would sometimes boot up this game and adjust the settings to fit my desired difficulty, and dedicate a few hours to a conquest match. 400% more dinosaur spawns but 25% health, making a huge swarm but having them really weak, or tweak their damage numbers but have a very low amount. I really like this flexibility of difficulty in this game. There's everything from noob easy to insane, which is a real challenge. This game also has a joke difficulty where you get silly dinosaurs with rocket launchers. Back then, I personally had 2 challenges. 1, I wanted to complete Insane, and 2, I wanted to break the 10-minute mark in a game mode called Slaughter. So, I made a friend, because like I said earlier, the best way to win is to get more people. Extra Chromosome 47 was my right-hand man. We met in a random game of survival one day and decided to add each other for more games. We just clicked really fast because we both had a passion for killing dinos, and we were also both into another game called TF2. Then, as we were playing together, we would also add this guy called Kumo. He always pulled more kills and died last. With the 3 of us, the insane difficulty now became smooth sailing. They would both go assault, and I ran the recon class, being more of a support in terms of combat, but I could sustain the generator very easily with my cloak, especially in later waves when it would get taken out multiple times by the swarm while everyone was trying to eliminate the large dinosaurs, spawning even more hordes. And another challenge I really wanted to overcome was to get the Slaughter game mode achievement. Basically, you have a small map, and as the time ticks, you have a bigger and badder common dinosaur spawn rate. Everyone starts as a support with a machine gun and a pump action shotgun, but a random weapon choice every 25 kills. In Slaughter, the difficulty comes not from being literally overrun to death, but by the fact that the game ends when 200 dinosaurs are on the map at once. is counted by this top right number. So essentially, you have to kill them as fast as possible. To do so, you have to work with a few things. Firstly, because they all spawn in different locations, a solo player might opt to stay in the middle to get as much attention as possible. But the swarm will turn to be too much after 8 minutes or so because of how much health and damage they now have. Then again, if you're playing multiplayer, if you split up to cover their spawns, you run into the same issue just later when one person gets overrun and there's no helping each other out if you're spread apart. Second, for a really good record time, you're on the mercy of the weapons you get. The pump action shotgun is good if you weave in melee hits, but if you don't get a rocket launcher or a lightsaber soon enough, you won't cut for the records. When I played with Extra Chromosome and Kumo, we would have a hard time because we all died too quickly. As hard as we tried, the best record we got was 9 minutes and 10 seconds, only 50 seconds away from the achievement. But back in the day, I didn't know about the melee mechanics for maximum damage. To get into the nitty-gritty details, as a support, you have access to both the medi gun and the utility gun. So, alternating between them to weave melees in while avoiding the cooldown had you simply just punched repeatedly without switching, you can deal a lot of damage really fast. And at that point, when I found out about this mechanic and how to weave shots with the shotgun too, I managed to break the 10 minutes in a duo with another one of my friends. And nowadays, as I booted the game up alone, I managed to clear 11 minutes and 55 seconds using my strategy. Now, I did get lucky with the weapon drops, but still, the only person on my friends list who has a better time now is none other than Praz, the developer of this game, by 23 seconds. I swear if I gather a good enough squad of gamers, we can go even higher. But then again, maybe it's pointless because these leaderboards are filled with cheaters posted with impossible times and impossible kill numbers. This brings me to the next point. Besides a few nostalgia seekers like me, all these shenanigans about achievements, they're kind of the only reason people play this game anymore. There's so-called achievement hunter people on Steam that try to get 100% achievements on every game they buy. And for many, Orion Prelude is just another $1 goal to overcome. Having 100% completion gives meaning to the grind. Now, I only have 73% of the achievements unlocked naturally. Moreover, there's no real incentive in the game to get more than 40%, which is when you receive the last equipable class cosmetic unlock. Hey, quick detour. There's an in-game shop where they sell random crap, like whole body shiny armors and hats, or even sensual taunts. Oh yeah. Back to the point. The reason why there's not that much completion of these achievements is that some of these are just a hassle. Some are valiant challenges, beat insane difficulty, or break the 10 minutes slaughter mark. But then there's bullshit like spend one in-game year on the Arctic Conquest map. Like, okay, let me just leave the game open for a couple hundred hours. Or get 1,000 kills with X weapon. Okay, you know what, sure. Pistols, rifles, whatever. 1,000 kills with a teleporter? What the fuck? It doesn't shoot or anything, you can just only whack others with it. 1,000 kills with the T-Rex egg? 1,000 melee kills in any dual game mode? Oh god. You cannot complete this achievement grind alone. And for as dead as this game is, you'll need to bring a friend along to put up with this if you want 100%. If at least you can naturally unlock most of the achievements related to survival by playing, nobody plays the versus modes. Because frankly, they're really shit. This game's jank does not mix well with tactile player-on-player gameplay. Small hitboxes, very weird weapons, gigantic maps, doesn't work. Which is a shame. Not because a dinosaur game should be an all-included 5 stars time sink, but because it's rooted in PvP games like Halo and Quake. If you ever played an old Quake game, it has its own problems, but it's so snappy, and it feels like you just fucking pawn noobs. Orion is just ass. There's also some missed potential here, I find. The lightsaber has deflect mechanics. The recon class was clearly more tailored for PvP, but kind of loses to the assault once again because of his movement, and it's just so unpolished. If I can look past these flaws in PvE, I really can't ignore the shooting issues with PvP. I don't know how or why, but the worse your connection is to the host of the game, the worse your visual recoil will be. What the fuck, Praz? Despite all this, I want to highlight 2 PvP modes that had at least something cool. Rampage is player-controlled dinosaurs versus humans. Remember the T-Rex egg achievement I mentioned earlier? Well, in this mode, humans have a base, and the dinosaurs have 3 egg nests they must protect. The goal of the humans is to try and steal the eggs from the dinosaurs back to their base in a game of tag. And I think it's kinda cool, but it's unbalanced. The map is too huge for any sort of coordinated play, and too often what will end up happening is a human sneaks past everyone and gets the egg, or does the same shit as in survival, posting up on a high ground and slowly peppering every dinosaur player to death. But I think this game mode could have been really cool had they actually looked into some balancing. You can tell they worked a little bit on it, with how each dinosaur has its specialty so as to encourage varying playstyles with kill potential. I really like the T-Rex the most, where I could launch boulders at humans who camp, or the ram who dives in with a flying bomb on its back, 9/11 style. And the thing about Rampage is that in theory the game could progress from starter weapons to humans getting stronger and shopping at their base, but they might have to protect their own generator from the enemy player-controlled dinosaurs, like in a back-and-forth tug-of-war for some ground and then push on the offense for an egg protecting the helpless guy carrying it home. But it's just not that at all. It was too ambitious and not finished. I could say the same thing about the next game mode, Vital. Funnily enough, this was the original vision of Orion Prelude the devs had in mind as early as the Orion source mods, which they mentioned a few times in their blogs. In this game mode, the large map from Conquest is reused in a player versus player survival. Each team has its own generator and shops, and it's the last one to stay alive that wins. I think this is a very interesting concept, but it's hard to pull off. You can have up to 10 players in one match, which is cool. And the same survival mechanics I've explained earlier are in place, so you can kill the dinosaurs and spend the earned money on upgrades. The added gameplay in Vital is that if you want to try and be offensive, you can walk up to a shop and spend your credits on dinosaurs that will spawn and attack the enemy base. Or, if you like to do things with your own hands, you can just walk across the whole map and destroy the enemy team and their generator with your own weapons. Beware though, it's a long walk, so either get a vehicle or continuously press C on your keyboard to roll for a little speed boost. I never got to play in a Vital lobby more than 4 players in size over my entire time in this game, because honestly, it sucks. It's just too unbalanced. The idea is great, and I think this is the biggest problem this game has as a whole, the gap between idea and execution. Concept-wise, dinosaurs in a sci-fi setting are cool, but instead we have a shitty Unreal Engine 3 game. PvP and PvE and open world? Fuck yeah, dude. But really, we just have a huge gigantic map that's unsuitable for any sort of gunfighting. I believe the developers' ambitions were disproportionate, and they failed to deliver a complete product. But at least it worked somewhat from a marketing standpoint. It's not really snake oil, but it's just $1. You can tell what you're in as soon as you play one match. The lack of polish is apparent to the point that some feel robbed of their $1. Every once in a while, I'll be having a great day and then I get stuck between a few rocks and have to restart the whole fucking game. And also, fuck the crashes. I glossed over the history of the renames Orion Prelude saw. Many people saw this as a dishonest move, a petty attempt to dodge bad reviews. Instead of trying to upgrade the game with significant changes and improvements, all the devs did with the money was rename it to try and wipe the Metacritic scores. Now here's another allegation. According to a Reddit post, that same Kickstarter raising funds to finance the development of Orion Prelude turned into an internal employee scandal. After raising $20,000, Praz fired everyone. Really though, he only raised $17,000. And most of the evidence from the animator's website called Polycount, which is now gone and is second source from Reddit threads I found, one of the guys in the arts team felt like he was underappreciated for his work. Quote, "I've worked on Orion Prelude as an animator. I kept hearing about all these promises, especially about getting paid for my work. David would mention this countless amount of times every day, which aroused suspicion for me. After submitting the work I had created, I was immediately canned from the project without any warning/notice, along with Curtis and Marcus Zur, the main sound guys. He forgot to remove me from the Skype group chat, however, and he basically lied and told the rest of the team members that we found jobs or something came up. I personally don't care about the money or anything, as I just do things as my hobby, and I wanted to get the word out there as well about David Prassel. It's hard to believe someone such as himself would exist. I'd say he's the worst." So, 3 guys got fired for essentially being unpaid arts interns, which kind of sucks. I got to read Praz's apology and company damage control letter from his brother. Each of them claimed different points in their defense. First, that the employees knew what they signed up for and that they were let go for missing deadlines, while Praz mentioned they just quit on their own. Kind of a messy story with a lot of legal questions of whether or not the fired artists could go after Spiral Game Studios for using their work now, which I think they never did. Or even ethically, was all of that greed over $17,000 really that bad? Is that life-changing money for a game that was being planned for over 10 years? It's hard to tell whether they're just assholes or a studio that lacked experience trying to manage an essentially indie game as if it was a billion-dollar grossing company with C-suite corporate structure. There's some makeup on both sides, but the money was not all stolen, and the game did get published. Some employees were likely let go, but at worst, it only shows bad business ethic, not business practice. Is David the next Rockefeller, Bobby Kotick? Nope. Unfortunately for David, this was not the last of controversies, because now, instead of facing Redditors, he would have to face Goliath, Activision. At this point, Spiral Game Studios would just manage Orion Prelude, and Trek Industries would be their new company. So basically, after Prelude, the team at Trek Studios worked on publishing the next game in the series called Guardians of Orion, originally released as just that, but renamed to the Orion Project, aka Orion. Are you confused with the names yet? All the early scandals about copyright issues with his mod Incoming and Halo on the Source engine, even renaming his company to Trek Industries, was likely another attempt to leave the controversial baggage behind. But on June 27, 2016, right in the heat of the summer sale when sales are the hottest for their cheap game, they would get a DMCA letter from none other than Activision. So here's the timeline of events as all of this happened within a few days. June 27th, Orion, the new game, gets removed from Steam because of the claim. David responds with a statement comparing himself to the story from the Bible of David and the Goliath, an underdog facing a mega corporation. The next day, on June 28th, the evidence reaches Reddit. Once again, he gets smoked by the neckbeards. This time around, the controversy stems from the similarity in weapon models. At first glance, it's unclear. While some images leave some plausible deniability, when you strip down the weapon models to their underlying, you'll notice one-to-one replicas of certain weapon parts from Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and Advanced Warfare. Things like the receiver, optics, and even the helmets all shared some geometry. Clearly, it was ripped off. Now that day, he stood his ground. First, a blog post on the Orion Prelude hub, the game that I was describing earlier because he couldn't post on the one that got removed, trying to raise awareness with hashtags such as Orion needs you, hashtag look who is scared, hashtag Steam WTF. Because to him, the whole situation was like an evil corporation taking candy from a baby. Because his indie game that he likes to consider to be a AAA title was wrongfully attacked for stealing models, which now caused him to lose so much profit during the Steam sale while his game was off the shelf. And he tripled down, starting an Indiegogo campaign to try and fundraise a legal defense with the community. Instead of simply walking away from the hissing dynamite and resolving this issue in private, he tried to be loud about it and tried to win the crowd's favor as an underdog. We all want to see the little guy take a win. Originally, it said that the action by Activision was likely due to a Reddit post about the similarities on the Black Ops 3 subreddit, to which David himself replied several times, surely defending the work as an homage and an inspiration to the M1 Garand rifle and such. Part of Praz's defense was that the content in Orion was obviously going to have some similarity to Call of Duty's futuristic game, as they share themes, which is a clear display of certainty in his work's integrity. The fundraiser for legal costs was an added chapter to his original Orion Kickstarter, and while a few people contributed some money, the largest lump sum came from none other than Trek Industries Incorporated, essentially donating $500 to himself to show support. The biggest and funniest blunder of this story came when he tried defending himself against the Reddit mob which had all the evidence and was already pissed off at David for his earlier controversies and mediocre game releases, he tried to privately message the poster of the thread to take down his post, or else he would sue them for all they're worth. Further writing a public threat, quote, "Hey, this is David from Trek Industries. I would like to offer everyone a chance to delete their posts before our lawyers get involved on this matter. We will be pursuing lawsuits against everyone and anyone involved in spreading malicious falsehoods about me, Trek Industries, or Orion. If you delete your posts now, you can still avoid heavy fines and perhaps even prison. Best regards, David Prassel, CEO of Trek Industries." Now, personally, I think it's so funny just how much shapeshifting Praz does in this whole situation to both look dominating as a CEO with a team of know-it-all lawyers and simultaneously the underdog fighting Goliath. But no, it gets worse. Faced with hard evidence about not only stealing, but now also lying and threatening the community, he replied that all the evidence was just photoshopped by Activision so that his game wouldn't get sold. Matter of fact, all this publicity will only help him break sales records. So fuck you, dicks. Now he seemingly felt some regret for all this. Actually, his account got hacked by Anonymous from Russia. You can see the hacker logging into his account 30 minutes ago with Praz's internet provider, Verizon Wireless. I'm not even making this shit up. He tried to use a VPN and log in to prove that all the dumb shit he tried to defend himself with was actually not him. And if you think it's a joke, he reiterated it on his Steam blog too, saying, quote, "My account on Reddit was hacked. I didn't write any of that. It's very obvious." The next day, on June 29th, he got an email from Activision's outside litigation counsel, simply offering a deal. The removal of infringing weapon assets, at which point Activision will in return notify Steam to restore the new Orion game. So, he did, and banned himself from his own Steam forum afterwards to protect himself. He really is a man of documentation, maybe too much. Oh right, I should talk a little bit about the game, Guardians of Orion. I remember promising to play it with extra chromosome 47, but I lied. Sorry about that, buddy. And the reason why is that I thought the top-down perspective was just lame. It's still dinosaurs and futuristic weapons, but maybe I have an anchoring to Orion Prelude's first-person chaos. So I tried it for the sake of neatly wrapping this video. Once again, a lot of the same issues come up. Grandiose ambitions of helldivers like interstellar ambience with those scrappy fake multiplayer lobbies to find a match. Not even the facade of this game looks appealing. You know that Potemkin village where a guy tried to impress the Russian queen by painting and setting up fake houses to impress her? This is it. There's quests and some NPCs to talk to now, and I think one of these NPCs is Praz's girlfriend, Cameo. In terms of gameplay, the little playtime I've had, I tried to play on some of the harder difficulties considering I'm a veteran, and I failed, not because I suck, but because you clearly need to make more progress before you attempt those levels, or simply play with other people. You can choose between first, third, or top-down perspectives, but I genuinely didn't find any good reason not to use top-down. There's no headshots, and you get very snappy aim assists, so you're just shooting yourself in the foot by using the other view models, which limit your view. Honestly, I have nothing else interesting to say about this game. For a game that's trying to lean into this sort of top-down horde shooter, in my opinion, you need good progression, satisfying visuals, and sound effects. So, visually, look at this shit from first person. What the fuck am I looking at? And look at how stupid this dinosaur dog looks when it dies after I mag dumped it several times. Sound effects are kind of mid. They were bad in Orion Prelude, but you would hope they would improve them. And I believe it's even more important if you're leaning more into a top-down experience that's less immersive than a first-person view for a player. As for the progression, I can't say I felt encouraged to try. You can call this bad journalism, but I think it says a lot about the quality of the introduction for the player that I didn't even feel like giving an hour of my time. They gave me a quick tutorial on how to use abilities, but after looking at the shop and the crafting system for upgrades, I was just confused. I'm not asking to incrementally be spoon-fed upgrades in story like a toddler who can't figure anything out on his own, but it just got the vibe of, I don't really give a shit. If you want to make it, give me something to care about. Hook me like a fish and make me fight for it while dragging me along. Well, I didn't even want to bite. I would much rather go play a mobile top-down game like SAS3 than this, just because of how boring and unsatisfying it is. So, what are my overall thoughts? Well, I like Orion Prelude, and as a simple player, I couldn't give a shit about the behind the scenes. I had fun with the game, as bad as it is, and it was really only just $1 at the end of the day. I also had a lot of fun going back and exploring the old version of this game for this video, as well as discovering all the scattered bits and pieces of Praz's developments. Perhaps the community was right about how Praz so likes cutting corners. Unpolished gameplay, leftover files from other games, all that led to what some would consider a character flaw of being an active negligent stealer. From as far back as using Bungie's warthogs and armors in his first mod Incoming, as well as the mismanagement of employees' expectations, and the Activision DMCA arrogance. But at the end of the day, none of this is the end of the world. And I do sympathize with this viewpoint that the Orion series is not some evil corporate slop that charges $60 with DLC and battle passes with tons of microtransactions. Orion is a forever underdog, and while David may have the attitude of an arrogant overlord, which cost him many reputation brownie points over the years when trying to prove Redditors wrong, he ended up just fine, I think. And though his game didn't blow up, it was a good run. If you look into all these mistakes he's made over the years, and why I feel bad about this is that he could have avoided all of it. There's a hazard in him being an everything man, and just how different his image could be had he delegated his public relations to someone more level-headed. Anyone besides himself or his brother. Every self-respecting CEO has a PR or some administrator after all. Despite all the paper trail left behind, there's a lot of missing information too. One controversy I forgot to mention was another case of copyrighted content in a trailer in 2011 for Orion Prelude, where the devs of the stolen IP came out saying it's an insult to use their stuff for promotional material. And that's it. It happened. What then? I'm not sure. Probably nothing. Praz just took it down. What about the little plot mystery regarding David's brother Michael, who managed PR for the early parts of Spiral Game Studios? David said he fired him because he took a fifth of the fundraising money and left. But like what? He took $4,000? Really? In the context of business, this seems so insignificant and not worth breaking ties over, especially family-related ones. But I'll reiterate, I fucking love you, Praz, for making Orion Prelude, but you're such a fucking tool for tripping on the same stones over and over. At least you have dedication, and I'll be honest, that's a nice skill to have. There was many times when a developer would have looked at the performance of their game or the backlash from the community as far back as he was making mods 20 years ago and just let it go. Now, is he insane trying to do the same thing over and over again? Trying to make a game that's too big and failing to deliver on a polished product? Maybe. Now, 25 years in, after a long drought of communication, Praz posted a blog on his page saying he's working on a new title. Quote, "Moving forward, our products will be high fidelity, often case premium products. To ask you for more, we need to deliver more, and the technology and the experience is what will constitute this change." In my opinion, if nothing changes, then I don't expect much, and nonetheless his records wouldn't inspire hype in the community. Quote unquote community I'm talking about is actually just mostly Orion Prelude fans, as confirmed by the game's best success of the series in Praz's survey. However, a good reason to think that his next title could be something nice is his newly gained experience. The commitment to not give up on game dev is great, as it shows resilience to try for great new titles, but this time around he doesn't seem rushed to finish it with a deadline. So maybe time was the missing element for the much needed polish Orion couldn't succeed without. And his newly acquired corporate experience working in established studios. I'll keep an eye out from time to time to check for any updates. Hi, Volet1 from the future here. I am on a remote island on the edge of the Gulf of Alaska, at the very top of the Pacific Ocean. On May 27th, 2026, Praz came out with a new patch for Orion Prelude. The last patch we saw for this game was in 2019, and the last content update was in 2017. Why, this is an unexpected announcement that came out in the middle of my retrospective video. I only found out through his Discord server, where it says you can download the experimental new version by changing the Steam game launch settings. If you want to know what's new, the details of this patch are not documented. Praz wrote that he hopes to announce this on Steam after it gets cleaned up, and to please hold back from revealing anything just yet. but I got a job to do, so sorry to ruin your private dino club. There's a few bug fixes, most notably to the Conquest game mode, which crashed because of the 32-bit game limitation, but the most obvious change are the updated sound effects. Almost all weapon gun sounds got revamped. Now it sounds like a fucking war zone. Here's a short before and after for you. Okay, I know this is an early build, but this is the first thing that jumps at me. Why is it so loud? You'll spend 90% of your time shooting your weapons at dinosaurs, but it doesn't make sense for them to be this deafening. And this is not a question of realism, this is just annoying. Please, for fuck's sake. For as long as Orion has existed, the audio has been unbalanced, with some effects being irritatingly loud or quiet. Adjusting the volume in the game settings is pointless because it's better to adjust it in the Windows settings, which applies a universal volume reduction. Otherwise, here's what Praz had to say about the next patch coming soon. Quote, "It will only include changes to the survival game mode for now. It will include a brand new map. It will also probably include some core mechanical changes across movement physics, etc. Once that is in place, I'd like to revisit Conquest, which was one of the main reasons I really came back to revisit Orion Prelude." Good news. I'm happy to see this, and when it comes out, I'll definitely check it out. But please, get some audio balancing in, and I wouldn't mind seeing some tweaks to adrenaline weapon damage numbers. Alright, back to your scheduled program. Personally, I think he can succeed if he really delivers on the promise of a premium product. I foresee that a game which delivers very satisfying gameplay could pop off. But again, the standards for games nowadays are much different than they were in 2012. Any popular free Roblox game is satisfying. You'll have to make it satisfying, and also interesting somehow. But that's up to him to figure out as the developer. I'll say it's completely valid to feel scammed if you believe that this game is the equivalent of a dollar store purchase. But I think you guys are just looking at life the wrong way. It's junk fun back in the day. I had a mission for a long time to try and bring a girl over on a date with me to the dollar store. For fun. And I did it. I felt very proud of myself while it lasted before she told me it's not gonna work out at the end of our little romantic walk. So the lesson here is that Orion was never a game to play for thousands of hours. I really don't mind writing a video about a game series that's obscure and dead, but at some point it had some traction. And I grew up with it, so I don't mind if some views trickle in to give some nostalgia to a few folks. I really wished that Praz would accept my request to chat so I could include some of his insights here, but unfortunately he didn't. So whatever I said, take that as just what I found, my opinion based on the facts and forum threads I read. Now, what do other experienced people think about this game? I asked around a little bit for some thoughts, and I got some answers. Here's Exhibit A, my longtime friend Felix with a voice interview. How do you feel about the price and the game back in the day?
I think it's very fair. It's a fair price. It's $1. Post-COVID, we kind of saw this appearance of a lot of games that people refer to as friend slot. Games that you're meant to play a few times with your friends that don't have that much content, but are fun because you have a fun times with your friend. I think these type of games that go for $20 are fair. They've showed that people are willing to pay for them. And so Orion being $1 is completely fair by me. It being on Steam means you can easily acquire $1 if you just want to play it with your friends, right? Sell some trading cards, sell some Counter-Strike or TF2 skins. So yeah, I think the price is fair.
Thoughts on the class system in Orion Prelude?
When it comes to the gameplay and the class system, it gets a bit messy. And I'm gonna mainly talk about the co-op shooter aspect where you shoot the dinosaurs, because that's what I played the most, and I think the rest is a bit redundant. It's always fun to mow down a bunch of nameless enemies. Payday 2, Left 4 Dead with the zombies, Helldivers with the little bugs. Super fun to optimize, super fun to go for the highest difficulties. The class system, extremely imbalanced. I think it's a nice touch, right? Some games don't do it. Notably, Left 4 Dead doesn't do it, and I think games like Left 4 Dead would be worse if they had it. Left 4 Dead would probably be a worse game if Bill was more accurate and Coach had a higher health bar and Rochelle ate hot chips and lied.
What do you appreciate the most about Orion Prelude?
the game has a really cool vibe. I think the music is really cool. I'm obviously kind of nostalgic thinking about it or listening to it right now, but it feels to me like the same vibe of the game like Helldivers. And Helldivers is extremely on the nose with that kind of like patriotic feeling, so much so that I find it kind of like annoying, like we get it. The achievements in Orion are very cool. They're basically like 90% of them are meaningless achievements you're gonna unlock on your own accidentally, but some of them are nice challenge to go for. And I think the game does, which I really like, is it has cosmetics behind achievements. It makes it so when you wear your rainbow armor, you're showing off like, hey, I beat the highest difficulty. I did it. Everyone in this lobby, you can count on me. I remember my most frustrating experience with the game was how uncompatible it was with single player. You get AIs to assist you, but if you go down and die, you instantly lose. And the game sometimes has these missions. Instead of protecting the generator, you have to go claim an outpost. You're walking towards a bunch of dinosaurs, some of them have like spitting acid or whatever. They hit you, they kill you, they instantly run away back to your base because all your bots are in your base, and you lost. You lost because you can't kill any of them to get back up, and that's it. That was very frustrating. I think if I were to remake the game, I have to include that. Make it so you don't lose the game by dying.
Thank you for this interview, Felix. Let's move on to our second case. User Quillo.
How did you find Orion? I have 112 hours on Steam. I started playing when Steam added it to everyone's library for a 3-day demo. Back then, free games were not that common, so it was kind of a big deal that would not be so big today. I had a lot of fun in the demo with my friends, so I bought the full game as it was quite cheap. I'm 99% sure that I missed Dino Beatdown, but it was called Dino Horde when I started playing. I remember that game changed a lot, but I was not tracking all of it. I remember new maps, new progression systems, game modes. If there was one thing that I remember the most, it's the Halloween event with special Halloween enemies and a white ghost dino that spawned enemies. What did you think of the developers? I would be very pissed at the developers because of all the weird cash grab things they did. I remember buying a more expensive edition instead of the cheaper one to unlock everything, and soon there was another edition that was more expensive and the one I bought was on sale, while the game was still in early access. And from what I saw somewhere, there were like 2 more Kickstarter campaigns for the same game, offering things that were clearly never meant to be introduced to the game. I'm not sure exactly what was happening as I was not tracking it closely, but from the scraps that I encountered randomly, the devs did not have a good reputation/word score. I don't know what their position was, and I know that game dev as a whole is brutal, so I don't really blame them. But honestly, I don't care much, as Guardians was not my thing anyway. What did you enjoy most about Orion Prelude? Honestly, I was not into the grind. Most of the things that were tied to levels like high jump on recon should have been a default for everyone. Same goes for utility gun. That was just too OP, and it was weird because playing with friends with less playtime and having to handicap myself so I don't overperform just because I played the game for longer. Maps were cool, but some of them were terribly optimized. I loved the way some of the guns felt. I loved the bow, the grenades, the rocket launcher, the overall gameplay structure. If I was to point out one single thing, it would be the Dragonfly hoverbike. It felt super good to drive, and the fact that it soared through the air on boosting was super cool. I remember that one map where the generator was right next to the Dragonfly base, and you could use them to glide over the canyon to reach the first outpost very fast.
Thank you for your insights, Quillo. Thank you for watching. But that's it for Orion. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.